Tonight, reports of a massive Navy training exercise spanning several days and 17 time zones. The biggest such exercise the U.S. has staged in a generation. What are we preparing for? Here's a headline you have to see to believe. Mexico suing U.S. gun makers, blaming them for the cartel violence in their country. How do they justify their case? We'll get into that. And incredible images of a town in California destroyed by fire. It's so dry there. One official has to drive 15 miles to take a shower, and he works for the water board. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. We have a lot on our plates in the U.S. with COVID, border issues, and much more, but we begin tonight with a triple threat on the military, economic, and cyber fronts. Starting with the military, and a headline that caught our attention. It shines a light on the serious issues we face overseas, and here it is. U.S. Navy Marines to conduct biggest exercise in 40 years. It started Tuesday and involves thousands of Marines and sailors. Call it a large-scale exercise, military drills, or even war games. It'll span 17 time zones across the world and continue for the next week and a half. Another headline goes so far as to call it preparation for a future world war. Is it a message to Russia and China? Then, on the economy, Senator Marco Rubio says China has weaponized America's corporate lust for profits, wielding control over products, content, and sales, and turning it all against us.
Today, the Chinese Communist Party has more control over what Americans can say, what we can hear, what we can read, what we can watch, than any foreign government has ever had in our history. And they have weaponized our openness. They have weaponized our decency. And they have weaponized a corporate lust for profits.
Add to that the cyber threats. There is a new U.S. effort now to defend against hacks with the help of some tech giants, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. The latter, of course, just the latest target of one of those hacks. Not to mention the attacks on critical U.S. infrastructure, including the food chain, even our oil supply. And we have it all covered tonight with former Naval Intelligence Officer John Jordan, China Specialist Dean Cheng, and security expert Robert Brzezinchuk. They will all join us live, but we begin with former Naval Intelligence Officer John Jordan. John, it's great to have you again. We always come to you for all things Navy. First, these are the biggest naval war games in decades. The question is why and why now?
Well, they're overdue. In addition to the military value of testing and validating a lot of our command and control procedures, intelligence gathering platforms, and making sure that information goes up and down the chain of command so that the right commanders have the right information. That's really the heart of this game, as well as collecting data for computer simulations later. The other piece of this, and this is the really significant part, is that war games are a means of diplomacy. The Chinese and the Russians have been running war games for a while, and they've been doing it in concert with press conferences to try to build a narrative, to position themselves in their various spheres of influence. In the case of China, certainly trying to make the South China Sea and the Strait of Taiwan a Chinese lake by default. This is the U.S. saying, not so fast. We too can run exercises, and we too are studying what you are doing, and we will not allow just incremental Chinese or Russian military aggression to achieve political aims.
So I also saw today where NATO troops also just wrapped up large-scale military drills. As you mentioned, Russia did as well. We all saw that. So is this just everyone sort of flexing their muscles?
Yeah, that's pretty much what this is. Keep in mind that in these war games, diplomacy is more than just words. Deeds in and of themselves can have diplomatic value and can serve a purpose for communicating to friend and foe alike. And that's in large part what these exercises are on both sides.
John, when you see talk, though, of preparing for another world war, it certainly gets your attention. Do you think that's clickbait, or is it that serious?
That's kind of clickbaitish. The U.S. military is always running exercises of some sort, whether it's at the small unit level or, the ship level, the fleet level, or the platoon level, or the battalion level, what have you. There's always various states of readiness. Our nuclear forces are always in our highest state of readiness. So the U.S. is, most countries, are at some degree of preparedness. It's how much do they choose to disclose, and can they use some of these exercises, some of this readiness, to convey messages to friend and foe alike.
So give us an idea of the scope of this. When you see the war game board, if you will, this includes warships that are basically around the world. How extensive is this?
Well, yeah, in this case, there's 36 warships are involved and 50 virtual units, which means there's people in conference rooms and computers simulating what other units, much larger units, differentiate throughout the world and how they would behave. Basically, this is validating how well information is transmitted up and down the chain of command, how well intelligence is gathered, and to refine decision making, and to make sure that and to gather data. And this is the most unsexy part, but it's perhaps the most interesting from a nerd point of view, is to gather data that can be used in subsequent war games and can be compared to what we observe in Chinese and Russian naval and ground exercises. So it's a data collection exercise too.
John Jordan, former Naval Intelligence Officer, we always appreciate your insight and your time. Thank you, sir. Let's shift now to Dean Sheng, China expert and senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Dean, let's pick up on that military point. We've had guests on this broadcast who think China is, without a doubt, our biggest threat, and that Taiwan in particular is the biggest and most pressing flashpoint, if you want to call it that. How do you see it?
Well, absolutely. The issue of Taiwan, the Chinese, the CCP has consistently said they are prepared, if necessary, to go to war over that. But we've seen an increase in tensions in the South China Sea. There's been some Chinese comments about Japan, nuclear saber rattling towards them, and also China and India. It's often forgotten. They have outstanding border conflicts, border issues. There were clashes on the border there. Several Indian soldiers, some Chinese soldiers died last year. And so there's tension all along the China border.
Right. And you mentioned it because we're hearing about it in these recent meetings that we've had between the U.S. and China. They've been contentious, to say the least, and even confrontational, with China issuing some threats. And as I recall, they said something about the U.S. Creating an imagined enemy. Are we making too much of all these foreign policy issues in that part of the world, or is this warranted?
Well, the Chinese would certainly like to have the world believe that it's all the fault of the United States, but it's the Chinese who are defying the International Permanent Court of Arbitration's finding about the South China Sea. It's the Chinese who are crossing the center line of the Taiwan Straits. It's very easy for a state-run media like China's to present a very one-sided view.
So you heard Marco Rubio at the start of the broadcast here. Is he right on this? Is China wielding unprecedented influence over the U.S. economy, in your opinion?
Well, that's one of the things that differentiates China from the old Soviet Union. The Chinese have a major economy. They're part of global supply chains. They're certainly part of our supply chains. They are trying to influence. You'll notice that when Assistant Secretary of State Sherman was there, the Chinese brought up, you need to let Confucius Institutes operate in the United States. So the Chinese are moving rook, knight, and bishop on the chessboard because they are trying to influence us in every way, not just through military means, but economic and even academic means.
Is it happening in ways we might not necessarily see?
Well, for example, you have to wonder why it is that the Chinese refusal to come clean on COVID, which led to a global shutdown. So many people, so many organizations insisted for so long that it was all a conspiracy theory. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with Chinese labs. And now we find a little while later that maybe it did. So the two nations you mentioned are interconnectivity, I guess. We are in many undeniable ways. Do you see a way for us to break that tether, or at least maybe loosen it for our own autonomy? Well, I think that I'm not sure that industrial policy, picking winners and losers, is the best approach. Europe seems to have done that, and you'll notice that, for example, nobody seems to be running European computers, European programs, or European operating systems on their computers. But I do think that one of the things Senator Rubio notes, for example, is why are Chinese companies allowed to list on American stock exchanges and yet don't have to be transparent when American companies have to fulfill Sarbanes-Oxley and go through all of these hoops to be transparent to American banks and American investors.
Dean Chang, Senior Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Dean, thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to shift now to cybersecurity expert Robert Brzezinski. Robert, I'm sure you've seen the grades that the Senate committee had given to some U.S. government agencies that had to do with cybersecurity. NASA, along with the Departments of State, Transportation, Education, and the Social Security Administration, all getting Ds. The Department of Homeland Security, which oversees aspects of U.S. cybersecurity, getting a B, and that was the highest grade. Robert, it's good to have you with us. The government is recruiting big tech for help now, and you are the cybercrime expert. How vulnerable do you think we are?
Well, when you see grades like that, it's pretty telling. And every day there's significant nation-based observed targeted attacks on our critical infrastructure. It's a clear and present danger. It was short of an act of war, our attacks on the pipeline from Russia. Had that merged over to something else, we would have to go to war. And as a former Navy intelligence specialist, I find it interesting at the top of the hour to see that we have these naval war games. We have to plan, prepare like we're going to be under attack. Yes, it may be clickbait, but it's clear and present danger when we have both Russia and China and Iran saber rattling. It's not just saber rattling, they're doing it.
You study this
we
all
in the critical infrastructure sectors.
You study this all day, so I'm wondering, how worried are you about China and other nation states and what they're up to in the cybersecurity world?
I just gave a presentation in Chicago at a gang conference about the clear and present danger based upon my book, Transnational Organized Crime and Gangs, Intervention, Prevention, and Suppression of Cybersecurity. We are really, really vulnerable today, and to see those grades, I would actually say DHS probably wouldn't even get a B.
Wow.
I've heard an Air Force official actually say we are the most vulnerable nation in the entire world.
I have a bad feeling about this, Robert, not to be an alarmist, but that we haven't seen anywhere near the worst of this. Am I wrong as far as cybersecurity and hacks in our country and dealing with our infrastructure?
Unfortunately, we have not. And if people do not step up to the plate in their different capacities and organizations and make their critical infrastructure within cybersecurity more robust, we are really, the coming storm might be an EMP or the next 9/11 via cybersecurity.
So we talked just briefly about DHS creating the Cyber Defense Collaborative with the help of Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Microsoft, of course, we all just mentioned today as we were talking about this, was the last company to get hacked. Is this enough? Will it work?
Absolutely not. We need to, reach across the aisles, everybody, private and public sector. This is really us against the world, really. And we need to have that mentality, and we need to work with our stakeholders in every sector. I'm a board member for InfraGard in South Florida. And we have a public and private partnership between the FBI and a critical infrastructure sector to include cybersecurity. We really need to ratchet up our boots and get in there and make our cybersecurity infrastructure more robust, because we are really seeing a coming storm. And unfortunately, if we have an EMP from Russia or China, we're done.
Wow. It isn't going away, for sure. It's an issue we'll continue to follow here, and we'd love to have you back and check in with you as these things develop. Robert Brzezinski, great to have you tonight. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
So get this, Mexico is suing U.S. gun makers because their cartels are using guns to commit violent crime. Do they have a case? We'll talk about that ahead. First, though, 10 people dead in a van crash just over the southern border. Dozens were packed into that van, and it's not an uncommon occurrence. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at The Donlon Report on Twitter. Members of the U.S. military are bracing for a mandatory vaccine policy for all of its 1.3 million on active duty. Joining me now to discuss, Allison Harrison. What's the latest, Allison?
Well, Joe, surveys of military members and their families show that vaccines not having full FDA approval ranks high as one of the reasons why some of them are not getting vaccinated. Dr. Fauci says full approval could come in the next couple of weeks, so that could coincide with shots being mandated for the military. Now, we knew that the vaccine mandate for active duty troops was coming, but we didn't know that it was going to come this soon. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, expected to make that announcement tomorrow that all active duty forces, 1.3 million service members, will be required to get their COVID shots. 70% of active duty troops have already received at least one shot. That's on par with the national rate among American adults. And 64% of active service members right now are fully vaccinated, so they've gotten both shots or the one if they got the Johnson & Johnson. Among the military branches, the Navy has the highest vaccination rate. The Marines right now have the worst. Now, we talked to Captain Javon Starnes. He is in Fort Bragg in North Carolina. He says that he was among the vaccine hesitant.
And I basically was not wanting to get the vaccine. However, I weighed the pros and cons of worst case scenario, I don't want to pass, and then just leave my wife, as a mother of three by herself.
And also today, I talked to a military caregiver, Jerry Maples. She is the wife of Robert Maples, who's a wounded warrior from Operation Iraqi Freedom. She told me that her husband was mandated to get an anthrax vaccine in 2003, a reminder that these military vaccinations are not new. Joe?
Allison, thanks very much for the update. We want to update you as well now on a story that led our broadcast yesterday. A van crashed near the border in South Texas, killing at least 10 people believed to be migrants crossing illegally. Let's get an update on this now from Sandra Sanchez. She is our voice on the border, works for Border Report, and you were on this story yesterday. What's the latest, Sandra?
Hi, Joe. I'm here in Corpus Christi at the hospital where 4 of the 20 injured migrants were brought. The death count is still at 10 from that crash in Brooks County. I visited the crash scene today where I saw a single shoe, empty gloves on the street. There were tire marks and the light pole where the van carrying 30 people struck about 4 p.m. yesterday. It's located about 8 miles south of the Falfurrias U.S. Customs and Border Patrol checkpoint. It's a popular area where coyotes or traffickers drop migrants and force them to walk through the brush to get north of the checkpoint. And these folks obviously did not make it.
Sandra, have they done anything to change the situation at that checkpoint? Because I know it's a heavily traveled highway and it's one that is involved in a lot of stops because of the checkpoint right there. But as you mentioned, this happened a little south of there. Have they made changes to try to stop this from happening before some of these vehicles get to the checkpoint?
No, it's purposeful that it's a choke point in order to make sure that none of the people who don't have documents get further north. So imagine an extremely desolate brush area full of prickly pears and rattlesnakes. And the migrants can spend 3 to 5 days trying to walk through those ranch lands. U.S. Border Patrol officials were actually the first on the scene to the crash site. The victims were airlifted all throughout the Rio Grande Valley, a span of over 250 miles.
Right, and I know you've covered this story, Sandra, from all points, McAllen, Mission, and up to the north in Corpus Christi where you are tonight. But tell us about the changes that are happening there overnight from McAllen to Mission, where some migrants, several of them, have now been moved to Mission and they're being held in tents because they have COVID.
Right. Less than a day after the city of McAllen erected this tent city, 6 tents that were capable of holding 260 migrants that are COVID positive. In North McAllen, there was such outcry from the community that overnight they had to relocate the tents to Anzalduas Park. Now, this park is where Governor Greg Abbott visited in March to launch his Operation Lone Star. And now they said that they are going to add enough tents that they could possibly hold 600 migrants at the facility. The bishop here, Daniel Flores, said they're no longer going to isolate the migrants in area hotels.
All right, Sandra Sanchez, live for us tonight in Corpus Christi. Sandra, thank you very much for the report. The Mexican government is suing a number of United States gun manufacturers and distributors, arguing they are at least partially responsible for the bloodshed taking place across the border. We're joined now by Leland Vittert from On Balance. So what are they seeking in this lawsuit?
Can't blame them for trying, right? $10 billion is what they want.
$10 billion?
$10 billion. Okay, laughable on its face. It's a little bit like suing McDonald's and saying, I'm fat and it's your fault because the French fries are so tasty, would be the equivalent. What's interesting about this is they're going after the gun manufacturers the same way a number of the victims from Sandy Hook, the school shooting, the elementary school shooting in Connecticut, went after gun manufacturers, saying that these gun manufacturers are specifically marketing to the Mexican cartels. And they point out, in at least one of the cases that they highlight, there is a gun made by an American manufacturer with a famous Mexican bandit engraved into the handle, therefore saying they are encouraging Mexican customers and Mexican wannabes in the drug cartels to own these weapons.
How are they smuggled over? And I guess is the one question is, isn't it up to Mexico to keep them from coming in?
Right. And Mexico has some of the toughest gun laws in the world for the legal purchase of firearms. Of course, the illegal purchase of firearms mean that military-grade weapons, 50 cal machine guns, are now commonplace in these cartel shootouts. Oftentimes, the cartels certainly outmatch the weapons that the police have, oftentimes match the weapons that the military has. So they're smuggled any one of 1,000 ways. The same way drugs are smuggled into the United States, weapons are smuggled down into Mexico. The gun manufacturers rightly point out in this that Mexico is a sovereign country, and one of the biggest problems down there is corruption. You brought up the perfect point of how do the guns get down there? Well, there's a lot of payoffs. There's a lot of corruption inside the Mexican government. Makes it very difficult to just blame the gun manufacturers.
This may not be apples to apples, but I'm sure someone somewhere is watching this and saying, well, then couldn't the U.S. sue Mexico for its drug distribution into the United States?
Well, probably the apples to apples would be, couldn't some American families who had lost sons and daughters to opioid addiction and opioid abuse sue the drug cartels down in Mexico, the equivalent corporate structure? Or could the state of Missouri sue for distributing fentanyl down into their state and sue the cartels in Mexico? The answer is it'd be possible. Good luck suing the cartels in Mexican courts. It's a little easier to sue American gun manufacturers in American courts.
Well, good luck is what they're saying, most of the analysts anyway. On this case, Mexico sued.
But they got a headline out of it, and the question is, does it change
but
also, does it change the behavior of the gun manufacturers even a little bit in terms of how they market?
All right, Leland Vittert, you can see his show at the top of the hour. It's called On Balance, right after us. 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Stay tuned for that. President Biden wants half the cars sold in the country to be electric by the end of the decade. Can Americans give up their gas guzzlers to meet that goal? Would you? And as if space travel isn't dangerous enough, how about a misfired record sending the International Space Station into a wild backward somersault? Wonder what that felt like. We're going to ask an astronaut ahead. The FAA wants airports to start monitoring passenger alcohol intake. A booze ban on flights. We're seeing mass flight cancellations and delays. It's an overall traveling nightmare lately anyway. Let's go to News Nation's Brian Enton for more on the ground. Brian?
Joe, it really has just been a nightmare traveling over the last week, especially if you fly Spirit Airlines. It's almost like this latest wave of mass cancellations, plus the duct tape incident from earlier this week with the guy duct taped to the seat on the Frontier flight. It all just sent everything over the edge. And now the FAA has sent a letter to airports saying basically 2 things. One, they feel like airport police are being too lenient. They don't want them to give any more warnings, and they want them to start always arresting disruptive passengers. And then the alcohol, you mentioned it. They are now telling airport bars to no longer give to-go cups. The FAA believes that drunk passengers are taking these to-go cups. They're getting progressively more drunk in the boarding area and then even sneaking the alcohol on the planes.
So, Brian, I was thinking about this today. There have always been airport bars before the pandemic where people would have a drink or two before they got on the plane. What's changed?
I think people are just more stressed out. I mean, people are, they were cooped up in their houses for a year. Now they're back to traveling again. They're nervous about it. They want to have a drink, and they're just not as at ease. Plus, like right now, these cancellations with Spirit Airlines, they had 400 cancellations today. 50% of their flights were canceled. People have literally been sleeping in the airport for 4 or 5 days. Imagine the stress level. Listen to what some of these people said earlier. I want you to hear this.
My flight was it said 5:20. Now it's delayed to 6:24. We've been here since Sunday. I don't know what's going on.
And they're going to cancel it again. And we've been here, man. We got kids at home.
Just being left in the dark. We don't know if we're going to get refunded. We don't know if we're going to, when's the next flight.
This is day 4 of you waiting?
Yeah, yes.
You're a lot calmer than I'd be.
Yeah. It takes.
Can you imagine? I mean, 4 days sleeping in the airport, not a pretty picture right now, especially in those Spirit Airlines terminals.
So Brian, what happens with all of these delays and all these cancellations? I mean, we've heard everything from, at least initially anyway, weather related, but we also know that the airlines are struggling to sort of get ramped up again on their employees. Is this going to sort of work its way through the pipeline at all, or how long is it going to take?
Well, at first, Spirit Airlines tried to blame things on weather. Now they've started to say that it actually is staffing issues. And there's really no telling. This all started on Sunday. They've canceled 50% of their flights every day. And every single day they've said, oh, tomorrow's going to be better. Come back to the airport. Tomorrow's going to be better. And people come back every day hoping to fly out. And then they end up just waiting until the next day.
What a mess. All right. Thanks for the update. Brian Enton in Florida for us tonight. Good to see you, Brian. Fill her up could be a thing of the past. At some point anyway, and not in the not too distant future. The Biden administration setting a goal for half of all new car sales to be electric by 2030. That's just 9 years away. Lauren Fix, the car coach, joins us now, and appropriately enough, in a car. Is it electric, Lauren?
No, it is not. This is a brand new Santa Cruz. So
okay.
So I'm out on the road, and this is an important story that's really going to impact everyone.
I appreciate you pulling over and talking with us. So I realize this is a goal by 2030, but half of cars sold in 9 years, is this realistic?
It's not going to happen. Manufacturers will do the absolute minimum to meet their requirements, and they're doing that now because if they decide not to comply, what ends up happening is they get penalized by the EPA. And that is a problem. So therefore, you have to comply. So car manufacturers are all saying, oh, yeah, we're on board. But in reality, they're producing electric cars now. So to give you an idea, last year in 2020 and 2019, only 2% of the 17 million cars sold were electric. And so this year, we'll probably only have about 14.5 million vehicles because of the chip shortage, which leads to other issues. But the fact is, we're still maybe going to make 3%. The fact is, the consumers aren't buying them. And there's a study out there that 95% of people that do buy electric cars don't go back and buy another one.
Interesting, because I'd heard just the opposite, that people, once they get them, they like them. Let me ask you about that, though, Lauren, before you go.
PR is everything.
Yeah, okay. But you say that car manufacturers are doing the absolute minimum, but all we hear is how I know several brands are vowing and pledging to go all electric.
Right. Well, they're not going to go all electric 100%. Even Volkswagen, who says they are, they've now realized, and Andrea Merkel as well as Macron have said, if we went 100% electric, first off, the grid cannot support it, period, no matter what country you're in. But they also know they're going to lose hundreds of thousands of jobs, which impacts the economy. Now, we have inflation going on right now. The cost of the vehicle costs twice as much as that of its comparable in gasoline. Plus, you've got a higher insurance rate and you have to charge. You start adding all that up, and consumers that are driving a 10-year-old vehicle are probably not going to make that move. No matter whether you double the incentive, which is currently $7,500, except for General Motors and Tesla.
Do you expect then pushback, Lauren, from people who think, well, I'm going to just sort of sit this one out for a little bit and see how this goes and stick with my gas-powered car, because they don't want the initial upfront cost of the electric vehicle, and they don't want the cost of doing whatever they need to do to get power in their house to charge it?
You are correct, because the cost of putting in that charging station, assuming that you have a garage, you can't put it just outside randomly. And a lot of times if you're in an apartment building, you can't. So the people that are affected the most is the working person, the person that is using a vehicle that's 10, 20 years old. And that's not that old anymore. That's like a 2000. And they're driving that vehicle, maintaining that vehicle. For that person to be able to sell the car and have a car payment they didn't have, and then increased insurance costs, finding a place to charge and paying for that electricity, even if it's included at some point, it's on them, is going to be expensive. Remember, those batteries are not good forever. There are still moving parts that need to be repaired and replaced and fluids. And you think about the cost of a battery, and then you start looking at, where does that battery come from? Well, all those 7 rare earth minerals come from China. So we will no longer be beholden to the Middle East. We're going to be beholden to China. And they already have the thumb on us because they're holding up some of the chip production. So imagine what they do if they decide not to supply batteries.
Lauren, we love our muscle cars. We love our trucks. Yes. And I know the car makers are in the process of making these all in electric versions. And I know that you have a daughter you named Shelby after the Mustang. Yeah. I'm curious if the only Mustang is available that's electric. Are you in?
Not a chance. I have a Shelby GT500 and a 350 that are a few years old, but you know what? If you tell me they're only going electric, you just lost my business, and I'll go look for a brand that doesn't. Personally, if you told me I had to buy an electric car today, you have to buy it, don't worry about the price, I'd buy a Porsche Taycan. But that's a super expensive car, and that's not what your average person's going to buy. They're going to be looking at Nissan Leafs. They're going to be looking at Priuses. They're looking at Volkswagen ID4s. Hyundai's coming up with hydrogen-powered vehicles. Honda is as well. So you're going to see different platforms. So don't think electric's the only way to go green. Okay. There's also compressed natural gas. There's also e-gas, and there's also recycled diesel and recycled gas coming that will be much less of an impact to the environment.
Fascinating. I've enjoyed the conversation. Lauren Fix, the car coach. Now we know why you pulled over and wanted to talk about it, because you had a lot to say, and we enjoyed all of it. Have a great night, Lauren. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
Amazing images out of Greenville, California, a town destroyed by fire. The state so dry because of the drought. In California, the Dixie wildfire is still burning, and overnight, the Northern California town of Greenville was basically burned to the ground. According to the New York Times, fire officials estimate that 75% of the structures in Greenville have been lost to this blaze. Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who represents the area, said on a Facebook post, quote, "We lost Greenville." Fire crews are still battling the blaze today in that region. The Dixie fire's been active for the last 23 days. The largest wildfire in the state this year, burning more than 322,000 acres, and it is the 6th largest ever in California. Only 35% of that fire has been contained to this point. Let's bring in Albert Ramon to give us the latest on the fire season, how it's been, where it's going, and what's happening with this Dixie fire. It's bad.
Yeah, you saw those pictures coming in from last night, and that continues today. The Dixie fire growing about 50,000 acres in about 24 hours. We have extremely dry areas that haven't burned in years and years, driven by strong southwest winds. And what we're actually seeing tonight on the satellite picture is another explosion. I was showing you earlier before the broadcast. There you see it. Those are not clouds, but we call those pyrocumulus clouds. So they look like thunderstorm heads, Joe, as you look at them from afar. But that gives you an idea just how intense the fire is with the Dixie fire, with these strong southwest winds that are driving this fire off towards the northeast. So there are communities tonight under the threat, like we saw in Greenville, over the next several days. Well, only, 32% contained right now.
Exactly. If you look to the north of that, you'll see the town of Medford in southern Oregon, and you'll also see the fires up there, which is the Bootleg fire, and that one's been bad as well.
Yeah, Bootleg fire. Firefighters finally getting that one under control, over 80% contained. That's the good news. Still smoldering, still producing terrible air quality. And that's the other side of the story, how as these fires grow, in some cases up to 60,000 feet, jet stream winds carry it off towards the east. And that's why we have seen reduced air quality in the upper Midwest, including in Minnesota, getting smoke from fires in Canada. And we may see a wind shift in the coming days that may push some of the smoke in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Right. And the worst is ahead of us, right? I mean, potentially.
Yeah, if we look at a year ago, the drought situation is so much worse than where we are right now. Add the Santa Ana wind events. That starts next month and through fall.
All right, Albert Ramon, thanks for the time. Good to see you. The International Space Station took a tumble last week, basically doing a backflip in space when a newly attached Russian module suddenly fired its thrusters on Thursday. It sent the station spinning 1.5 revolutions, or about 540 degrees. Joining us now is our friend and astronaut. He's Jose Hernandez. It's great to see you again, Jose. So anytime you talk about doing a backflip accidentally, that can't be good. What happened?
That's correct, Joe. Great being here. Absolutely right. 3 hours after the new module docked to the International Space Station, the Russians were integrating the module with the International Space Station commanding, and then all of a sudden the thrusters fired, causing it to do, as you mentioned, 1.5 turns, enough to make any Olympic gymnast jealous. And luckily, it finally stabilized, but it stabilized about 180 degrees off, so then they had to fix it, and all is well now. Well, this got a little scary at times, didn't it, Jose? I mean, I don't want to overblow it, but I think that they declared, what was it called, like an emergency, a spacecraft emergency for the first time. So the warning board's going off. If you're on board when this happens, what are you thinking? Absolutely. Anytime you have the station firing thrusters without command, that's great, cause for concern. And so the first thing you want to do is stabilize it, which the ground control did, and then you want to find out what the root cause is, which is what the Russians are working on right now. So hopefully it's not going to happen again. But the crew and the station was never in danger. It's just that you just don't want it rotating uncontrollably. So this module had just arrived, and it was unmanned, correct? That's correct. Right. It arrived unmanned, and they were just integrating it with the station. Right, but the only way for them to communicate with it was from the ground at a station in Russia, as I understand it, correct? And the next pass over Russia was an hour away, and they had a couple of blackouts as well, one of them for like 7 minutes in communications. Yes, but they do have manual override in the modules in the event of such an emergency. I'm not certain if they went ahead and activated those or they just waited until they had a signal and the Russians took control of it. All right, let's talk about some new pictures that were just released, Jose. These were fantastic, and I just love these old pictures. They've been remastered with new details from the Apollo 15 mission, and we're coming up on the 50th anniversary, which is just a great excuse to show these spectacular pictures. 4 spacewalks on this mission, and man, just again, how cool is it to see these, Jose? It is so cool, Joe, because let me tell you, the Apollo missions were the missions that actually inspired me to become an astronaut, watching these astronauts walk on the moon. And Apollo 15 is especially, it's very special because it's the first one that took a lunar buggy to go and operate on the surface of the moon. So it accomplished in its almost 19 hours that the astronauts were on the surface of the moon. They accomplished a lot of work because of that lunar buggy that they had around. When do you think we're back on the moon, Jose? Honestly, I really think that we're probably going to be back in about 2025, 2026. I think they want to go by 2024. I see it a little difficult, but we're going to get there. We have to go back, and it's going to be a big team effort. I think it's going to involve other countries, and it's going to involve the private sector. So it's going to be a big effort to establish a long-duration lunar base there so that we can develop and test technologies. So someday we can head to Mars. Wow. All right. Hey, there's more I want to talk to you about the next time we get together, Jose, and that includes your personal life. I know you just bought a vineyard, and your life is so interesting, how you got where you are. They're making a Netflix movie about it. So we'll talk about that the next time we get together, huh? Absolutely, yes. We're making our own wine, so absolutely. We'll be happy to talk about that, Joe. Thank you very much. All right, Jose, good to see you. Take care. New York lawmakers moving forward with an impeachment inquiry of Governor Andrew Cuomo amid the new details of sexual harassment. With more, News Nation's Tom Negevin joins us now. So what do you think, Tom? Are we looking at an impeachment process here?
We certainly are. We certainly are. That appears to be all but inevitable. Short of that, Joe, Governor Andrew Cuomo has to resign, which he shows no signs of being willing to do. Continuing to insist he's done nothing wrong, in spite of the state attorney general's report that indicates he sexually harassed at least 11 women, creating a hostile work environment for women in the governor's office, and even retaliating against one of the women, the first to come forward, Lindsay Boylan, a former Cuomo aide. It looks pretty grim right now. And the grimmest part may be or the second grimmest part, maybe what you just mentioned, the deadline from state lawmakers for Governor Cuomo's legal team to come forward with evidence supporting his position in this. That deadline 1 week from tomorrow for them to submit their evidence, which indicates the impeachment investigation that's been going on in Albany for some months now is drawing near to its conclusion. That's the Judiciary Committee of the State Assembly. It would be followed by a vote in the State House and then an impeachment trial in the New York State Senate. Add to that half a dozen district attorneys across the state of New York, Westchester County, Albany County, here in Manhattan, who are seeking additional information and evidence from Attorney General Letitia James to bolster what they are doing, which is criminal investigations involving the governor. That doesn't necessarily lead to charges, Joe, but they are looking into whether charges may be warranted, criminal charges. As the Attorney General has said, she believes he broke federal and state law. And then today, some of the starkest condemnation from a fellow Democrat coming from New York Mayor Bill de Blasio in his morning briefing today. These two have never been allies, never been buddies, but he's telling the governor to get, quote, the hell out of the way, calling him a narcissist, Joe.
Wow. Well, fantastic update. Tom Negevin, live for us in New York. We appreciate it. Coming up at the top of the hour, the VP's big meeting with top Democrats. Was it a skull session or a crisis session? Leland will dive into that. More issues plaguing the Biden administration again at the top of the hour.